Hey, what's good YouTube? It's RJ, welcome back. Today, taking a look at a shoe that's kind of like a, what would you call it? I guess a bit of a consolation prize or a runner-up to really what I wanted originally. So, as many of you know, I've been after the Nike and Stussy Spiridon Cage 2 collaboration, and it's just eluded me. I'm not willing to pay $300+ for it. I passed when they were like 200-ish. And with that said, I'll probably never see them again. So I had to pick up a pair of the general release all silvers just because I wanted to get them on foot, see how they feel. And I know Stussy has a few more colorways in store, and as well as some other modified versions, if you will, that we'll save for a later date because hopefully I'm able to snag those. So without further ado, the Nike Air Zoom Spiridon Cage 2. All right, so for those of you interested, they do come in the typical, now typical, all red Nike box, white lettering, white branding, white swoosh, box label, tag right there. Nothing else special about them. Like I said, general release, general colorway, nothing fancy about the box, nothing really fancy about the sneaker, just your typical retro, but I am a big fan. So let's dive into the sneakers, put one aside. Now you've got the Spiridon 2, which in my opinion does not really resemble the original, and when released was just referred to as the Spiridon for whatever reason in Nike's world. But this right here, the Spiridon, now Cage 2, was designed by a guy named Steve Smith or Steven Smith. I'm obviously not friends with him. I don't know what he prefers to go by. We'll just call him Steve. So Steve is now currently the director or head of concepts, something along those lines for Yeezy. So he works very, very close with Kanye. So as you can probably imagine, through his years with Nike and other sneaker footwear companies, he's definitely left his mark. So this is one of his designs, one of his sneakers, and something that he's been pretty proud of. If you follow him on Instagram, I'll actually link his down below. He's actually shared these pretty recently, which is a little odd because I don't feel like Kanye really ever looks back or goes back aside from his recent comments on the Nike Yeezy. But getting a little off topic, and I apologize, but I'm just obviously fascinated. So what we have here is one of Smith's designs, several designs in the Spiridon Cage 2. Right out of the box, I never had these as a kid. They came out, I believe, around 03, 04, and I was, between you and me and everybody else who watches, I was just graduating high school, and I had definitely not been into sneakers for quite some time. I kind of was really into sneakers through my childhood, through middle school. And then when I got into high school, I kind of left the sneaker obsession behind me and got into skateboarding, BMX, although sneakers definitely do transition into skating. I just wasn't really big on it, you know. I just kind of, it's hard to skate and keep your shoes looking good. And I never really got into the dunk scene. That was kind of, anyways, way too much information and a story for another time. These dropped at a time that I wasn't really paying attention to Nike or the sneaker world in general. But because both my mom and dad worked for Sports Authority, I do remember these. I do remember them coming out. I do remember seeing them, and it's a crazy design, man. It was definitely ahead of its time at the time, and still I think holds some relevance. I think it's dope, you know, in a time when all the chunky retros and all of that is coming back into play. I think it's a great time for these to drop. I really wanted that Stussy collab, man. I really, really did. If you have a 10 or a 10 and a half, hit me up for a decent price. Don't try and hit me with that 300+ nonsense, because it ain't gonna happen. Anyway, let's dive into these. So, like I said, full mesh upper. The cage, if you will, is all a synthetic leather material, obviously metallic silver on this specific colorway. And it just kind of wraps the entire shoe all around it, from the tip of the toe box all the way to the back panel where it kind of loops in and connects to right there. And then this little overlay patch on the back locks it into place. On the lateral and medial portions of the shoe, the cage has some mesh lining right there, right where the swoosh is attached right there, both sides. And you can see they left the portion right here around your ankles open, so you can kind of see the actual cage portion of the shoe. And that's the only real drawback, in my opinion, is when you walk and the shoe presses up like this, the cage does kind of expand and look kind of silly when you're looking down at it. But If you don't look down, you'll have no idea. So the entire shoe right here is a booty system. You've got a mesh tongue. Obviously that mesh rolls down and combines with all the other mesh throughout the entire sneaker. Like I said earlier, the whole inside liner is mesh. And because of all the breathability, ventilation, very light materials, the shoe is extremely lightweight. And that was the first thing I noticed when I pulled them out of the box. Didn't even mess with the laces because it's a booty system. I don't really need to snug them up any tighter than they already are. Just threw them on foot and they're extremely lightweight. I waited to do this review for so long because the day I put them on, I actually started jump roping for whatever reason, just to get some cardio in. And I put these on and the next day my feet were killing me and I was like, damn, that is an uncomfortable sneaker for whatever reason. Lo and behold, it was actually the jump rope that killed my feet. So these are mad comfy. I've worn them on several walks with my son throughout the last week or so, and they were originally made for marathon running, believe it or not. All the ventilation and holes and everything throughout is made so your foot can breathe. Any sweat, water, anything that drips from the shoe will splash right out, dissipate in due time when you're running marathons. And that's what they were made for. And that was really the focal point back then. So while you wouldn't really run a marathon in them now because of all the tech that has come since then, still a dope shoe. Definitely a good shoe that you can go walking in, few little jogs here and there, and it'll definitely hold up. Tongue does feature a little rubber patch as well as a red swoosh. Same patch can be found on the back panel of the sneaker. For what it's worth, you do have a little pull strap right here on top of the tongue. All white laces, one pair, no alternates in the box. And that's about it as far as the upper goes. Headed down to the midsole, you've got an EVA of some sort. I think maybe like a Phylon rubber compound, if you will, sitting on top of the exposed Zoom Air pocket cushion system, whatever you want to refer to it as. And then you've got a cool little black cage designed right around that air unit right there. Flip down to the bottom of the shoe. Few details worth noting. Nike swoosh up top, a little bit of tooling and detailing right there underneath the forefoot. Zoom Air logo right there beneath the heel. And that right there is surrounded by red and black rubbers on the heel portion of the sneaker. And for what it's worth, you have that same Zoom Air logo right there on the back panel of the shoe, actually right beneath the back panel on the midsole area. And one other thing I did want to note on is the lacing system. You do have 4 loops on each side, hard plastic, coming up the lateral and medial portion. Then on both sides in that synthetic leather portion, you do have 2 plastic eyelets. Like I said, both sides of the sneaker. And that pretty much breaks down your Spiridon. As far as pricing goes, you're looking at 140 bucks. The Stussy collab that I did bring up a couple times went for 160 just because collabs typically do hold a higher price tag than your general releases. As far as sizing goes, go true to size. I went 10.5. That is my true to size typically. And it felt really good. So I wouldn't deter from that really at all. I've heard the collabs run bigger. I'm not sure if that's true. So if you did get the Stussy collab, do comment down below and give me a little insight on your sizing and whatnot, just so I know for future reference. Obviously, as far as comfort goes, I love them, man. I think for a retro that came out nearly 20 years ago, I think it's phenomenal. You know, I'd give it somewhere around an 8 or so out of 10. I think it's mad comfy, and I look forward to copying the future collaborations with Stussy because I'm a mad Stussy fan. So with that said, guys, that's gonna do it. I will throw these on feet and give you a better look at them aesthetically. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. And as you can see, the desk behind me is being worked on. We're throwing a few things together. And when I say we, I mean me. Throwing a few things together and hopefully making things a little bit more professional here and a little more quality to the video, if you will. So with that said, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and that's about it, guys. I will catch you next time. My name is RJ. That's gonna do it. Peace. Hey, real quick before you guys go, I almost forgot. Shout out to the Sneak Diss podcast, man. Those guys are dope. You've got Greg, you've got George, you used to have Ryan over there. Just worth mentioning because I've been watching the show for so long, and I didn't want to leave anybody out. Everybody that makes appearances on that show, it's the best damn sneaker podcast, period, man. Those guys keep it real. They don't sugarcoat anything. They give you their honest opinions. They've been in the game forever. And I had to give them a shout out because they just dropped this hat right here. It was, I think, fairly limited. I'm a huge fan of it, man. The quality is unreal. Thank you guys for including me. And and that's about it. If you haven't checked them out, I will link them down below. I don't really wear snapbacks forward, but I had to show this logo a little love. Chicago Bulls colors, if you will, because obviously we're all watching The Last Dance locked up in our house. So again, the Sneak This podcast available, I think, everywhere. I typically tune in on YouTube, but shout out Greg, shout out George. You guys are killing it, man. Thanks so much. And again, I'm RJ. Peace.